let's dive in. First question, tell me your biggest pet peeve and why. This is such a great question, and I see it everywhere. It is inconsistent form validation where you don't see it until you finish everything and you press create account where it says your password must be at least 8 characters. Why couldn't you tell me that before while I was entering it in so I know what I need to be putting into it? I just feel like I've wasted so much effort and I've already moved on when I hit the button. I don't want to context switch back and hunt for what's wrong. So this breaks trust and there's unclear requirements for the user, and one more error could just create a rage quit in them. So what I like to do instead is to be able to do the early and often feedback. We have green, light around the outside, a perfect, and then also this length showing in this red bottom, and it would turn green once it gets to the right length. Also, I like this little information. Okay, they didn't match because I was typing too fast, and this mock-up was made in Figma Make. Now, this fix is super simple. We can guide the user with light green check marks and helpful notes that can help them make sure that they're getting the requirements they need for the passwords. And to your question, if you had a budget of $50K, you had to use it or lose it in 6 months, how would you do it? I thought this was really good to stretch my brain. So the first things I would want to ask you is about the existing user base. Are we doing a feature or something for the existing user base, or are you wanting to explore new audiences? Also, if it's a completely new feature, or are we improving something we already have? I think the $50K would be more beneficial to improving something we already have. And what metrics are you wanting to know to move forward? And then one question I love to ask for this is, if you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing about the product, what would it be? And then from there, we would work through what this $50K budget could look like in 3 main buckets. So for context, I will use Navy Fed, and I would say that I want you to know that I was looking into Navy Fed's recent initiatives, and I noticed their member feedback along with a few other things in their investments. They have already invested in real-time conversational AI along with $450 million commitment to members announced last October, and some member feedback wanting clearer communication and more transparency around activity and fees. So with this context, here's what I would build. I suggest a proactive conversation agent. Our research shows that users struggle with communication between the banks and the activity, along with what fees may be impacting. So in month 1 and 2, we would do user research for about 12K, interviewing 15 to 20 members to create affinity maps as well as understand the pain points around it. Then in month 3 and 4, we would design and iterate with a multi-channel delivery. And in month 5 and 6, testing and refinement for about 500 to 1,000 members. Now month 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, each of these phases can be back and forth. For simplicity's sake, I kept it at 2-month increments. I'd also measure success through specific KPIs based on what you told me that you wanted to watch. And that could look like shorter amount of customer tickets. I also want to make sure that we could review member service call transcripts. That would be part of our research. And we would look at mapping out conversation flows for the top 3 scenarios that would go into design and iterating in the multi-channel, which multi-channel could look like SMS, app updates, and voice, thinking that most are going to do a conversational chat. 2 rounds of usability testing in month 3 and 4 as well. And then with our testing and refinements, it looks like we can measure opt-in rates, overdraft reductions, and member satisfaction scores 1 through 10 with like and scale. A buffer of 5K for unexpected research or additional testing, and that would help us make sure that the pilot users are satisfied with the product experience. We're also looking for a 70% satisfaction score for the notifications. And this directly addresses the organization's immediate challenges for honoring their mission to military families. Now, if I'm off base on these priorities, I'd love to hear what challenges you're most focused on solving right now. But based on everything I've seen, proactive financial communication seems like the highest impact opportunity for both members and organizations. And the last question is, tell me a time you came up with a clever solution or workaround that you're really proud of. Here's my internal tool, Honeybook. This is what I use to organize my client journeys in my startup. And in that startup, this is over a 2-year period, I accumulated a lot of cases, and I also needed to create checkpoints along the way. So originally I think there was 3 options here, which was like proposal, paid, done. And I said I needed to create more avenues for the clients that I was already serving. So planning I wasn't used as much, but this could be because they are on a budget and I need to circle back with them. There's an auto email set on this one to trigger after a month. And then with the Academy students, they have separate email tier that drips out to them to remind them to check the content that's being updated. For cash clients, we don't give them as much hand-holding or emails as the other packages, so that is why there's a cash call out. And then middle of the program is for check-ins. So after they've been in the academy for 3-4 months, they're gonna get pushed over to middle of the program where there's an auto email that says, hey, it's almost time to renew, and ask for a survey to get more client feedback on how I was doing. Boot camps were my board and train, so different services had different kinds of emails to send to them, and I found this is the easiest way to do it. And it also allowed me to see their open rates and analyze some metrics to make sure I was moving in the right direction. That is all I have for today. Thank you so much, and I hope to hear from you again.